To my incredible YouTube audience, thank you for joining me on this emotional journey. Your support means the world, and I hope this story resonates with your hearts as much as it poured from mine. The kitchen clock ticked like a heartbeat, each second slicing into the silence that hung between us. I stood frozen, the phone trembling in my hand, its screen glowing with a text that felt like a blade. I can't do this anymore. I'm gone. My husband's words, sharp and final, burned into my eyes. The air smelled of burnt toast. Our breakfast abandoned when the argument erupted. I could still hear his voice, low and jagged, from an hour ago. Was it really a joke, Sarah? His eyes, those soft brown pools I'd drowned in for a decade, had turned cold, searching mine for a truth I swore I'd given him. It started so innocently, or so I thought. Last night, we were sprawled on the couch, wine glasses sweating on the coffee table, laughing about old memories. The living room was warm, the kind of cozy that comes from fairy lights and worn-in cushions. I'd teased him about his college haircut, and he'd fired back about my obsession with cheesy rom-coms. Then, in a moment of tipsy mischief, I said it. "Oh, come on, Matt, you know I could have had my pick of guys back then. Like that time I almost ran off with Jake from the coffee shop." I laughed, expecting him to roll his eyes, to call me ridiculous like always. But his smile faltered, his jaw tightening just enough for me to notice. A shadow flickered across his face, gone as quickly as it came. "You're joking, right?" he'd asked, his voice quieter than usual. I nodded, giggling, brushing it off. "Of course, dummy. You're stuck with me." But something in his gaze lingered, a question I didn't catch until it was too late. This morning, the air felt different. The kitchen, usually our sanctuary of coffee and shared playlists, was a battlefield. Matt stood by the counter, his shoulders hunched, staring at the kettle as it screamed. "Sarah," he said, not looking at me. "Why did you say that about Jake last night?" His tone was calm, but it carried an edge, like a wire pulled taut. I laughed, nervous now, stirring sugar into my mug. "It was just a dumb joke, Matt. You know me, always running my mouth." But his eyes met mine, and they weren't laughing. They were searching, peeling back layers I didn't know I'd hidden. "You've mentioned him before," he said. "Jake." "More than once." "Why?" My stomach twisted. Had I? I thought back, sifting through years of casual conversations. Jake was just a barista I'd flirted with years ago, before Matt and I were serious. A fleeting crush, nothing more. But the way Matt said his name now made it sound like a crime. "I don't know," I stammered. "He was just around. It was nothing." Matt's hand tightened around his mug. "Nothing," he repeated, the word heavy. "Then why does it feel like there's something you're not saying?" The kettle's steam curled between us, a ghostly barrier. I wanted to reach for him, to pull him back to the warmth we'd always shared, but my feet wouldn't move. The day unraveled from there. He asked questions I didn't expect, about late nights at work, about that weekend I'd gone to a conference alone, about why my phone was always face down. Each one was a pinprick, small but stinging. I answered honestly, or so I thought, but every response seemed to push him further away. "You're hiding something," he said finally, his voice breaking. "I can feel it." I wasn't. At least, I didn't think I was. But doubt crept in, a slow poison. Had I been too friendly with Jake back then? Had I let a harmless flirtation linger too long in my mind? I remembered the way Jake's smile had made my heart skip once, years ago, before I'd chosen Matt. Before I'd chosen us. But I'd never acted on it. Never. "Matt, please," I said, my voice cracking. "It was a stupid joke. I love you. You know that." But he shook his head, his eyes glistening. "I don't know what I know anymore," he whispered. Then he grabbed his keys and walked out, the door clicking shut like a verdict. I waited. Hours bled into each other. I sat on the couch, staring at the front door, willing it to open. The fairy lights mocked me now, their glow too soft for the ache in my chest. I called him, texted him, my messages piling up unanswered. "Please come home. I'm sorry. I love you." Nothing. Then, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the room in a bruised purple, his text came. "I can't do this anymore. I'm gone." Panic clawed at me. I scrolled through our messages, searching for clues, for something I'd missed. There, buried in months of mundane texts, was a photo I'd sent him, a selfie from that conference, me smiling at a bar with colleagues. In the background, barely noticeable, was Jake. I hadn't even realized he was there. Had Matt seen it? Had he been carrying this suspicion for months, letting it fester? I drove to his office, to his friend's house, to the park where we used to walk. Empty. The city felt like a maze, each street a dead end. My mind raced, replaying every moment I'd dismissed, his quiet moods, his lingering glances when I mentioned old friends. Had I been blind? Or had he built a betrayal in his mind that never existed? Days passed. The house grew heavy with silence, the kind that presses against your skin. I found his wedding ring on the kitchen counter, tucked behind the coffee maker like an afterthought. My fingers trembled as I held it, its weight a reminder of vows now fractured. I called his sister, his co-workers, anyone who might know where he'd gone. No one did. Or no one would say. Then a week later, a letter arrived, his handwriting jagged on the envelope. My heart lurched as I tore it open, hoping for answers, for reconciliation. Instead, it was a single page, his words raw and unsteady. Sarah, I loved you with everything I had. But I can't live wondering if I was enough. You never cheated, I know that now. But you let me think you might have, and that's a betrayal I can't forgive. I saw Jake at that conference bar, in that photo you sent. I saw the way you smiled. I've been carrying that image for months, and it broke me. I'm sorry. Don't look for me. The letter slipped from my hands, fluttering to the floor. I sank beside it, the truth a weight I couldn't carry. My joke, my careless words, had planted a seed of doubt that grew into a chasm. He hadn't left because I betrayed him with another man. He left because I'd let him believe I could. The heartbreak wasn't in the act, but in the trust I'd shattered with a laugh. I stared at the fairy lights, now unplugged, their bulbs cold. The house was no longer a home, just a shell of what we'd built. And somewhere, Matt was gone, carrying a wound I'd given him, one I'd never meant to inflict. The betrayal wasn't mine alone. It was ours, born of words unspoken and truths misread. A love lost to a shadow that never was.